Greetings. Welcome to our show. The name of the show is called The Oasis in the Sky. Today, we're going to talk about the golden mean. The golden mean. And the golden mean is, as we were discussing this for the last 2 weeks, is a Nubian philosophy. And this is a philosophy of life in its totality. And I will try my best to break it down, what it means, the symbols. Now, before I get into it, the last 15 minutes of our show, we're going to have what we call breaking bread together with the community. And that's a metaphor for us having a conversation, and you can call in and then we can discuss some of the things that we're talking about on the show today. Now, as we said last week, this golden mean has 4 sections. And the 4 sections are what our universe is made of, primarily. Air, water, earth, and fire. And those 4 elements are what we're going to discuss. But since we've spent a lot of time over the last few years talking about air and water, we're going to concentrate on the element of earth. And that's what we're going to be talking about for this entire series. Also, behind us is a picture of 3 sisters, and I've talked about them over the last 2 weeks. And those 3 sisters are called the M Sisters. They call themselves the M Sisters. The 3 brothers who were their husbands are very famous, and you are quite sure you have heard of them. Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, and Medgar Evers. That's why they call themselves the M Sisters. And I think it's very ironic how they became good friends. And it's kind of a lesson in that for us, you know, because when the husbands was alive, you know, there was frictions about different, you know, ways of go about helping our people. So they actually never did come together. The brothers didn't when they were alive, but the sisters did come together. And that's kind of interesting how they were able to become friends and bond the way they did. And it's a very beautiful story. There's a book about Sister Betty Shabazz and her life, and she discusses a great deal of this friendship between these 3 sisters. And so I recommend that book because actually Sister Betty Shabazz is actually the sister that we have chosen for the earth symbol, and we call her the earth goddess. Now, those of you who are African Americans, you probably aren't used to hearing a black person being called a goddess or a god, because I know you, just like myself, when we grew up here in America and you looked in any kind of book that was called holy, if it was called holy, you can bet that you saw white people in the book. You know, you didn't see any black people in no kind of holy situation at all. And that's how it was when I was growing up and going to Sunday school and, you know, listening to what they said was holy. And so when we say Sister Betty is the goddess of earth, some of you are taken aback by that. But we're not taken aback at all, because we understand that our ancestors did call their leaders and their representatives gods and goddesses. It was very normal. You know, we don't have a problem with that. It's a matter of understanding what exactly a god and a goddess is. And we will try to deal with that also. But that's not actually the main subject today. But this golden mean, as I said, has air, water, earth, and fire. And fire is the representative of fire is the god of fire, and we call him Hannibal. General Hannibal was one of our ancestors, and his history is very significant, but we won't be talking about that today either, so I'm just kind of introducing you to who's who. And what I'll do is show you all of them, who have we chosen? We chose Sojourner Truth as the goddess of air. And we chose Malcolm X as the god of water. And Sister Betty, who is on the picture behind us with the other two sisters, the beautiful sisters of Martin Luther King's wife and Medgar Evers' wife. Sister Betty Shabazz is up on the picture also, and she is the goddess of earth. And Hannibal is the god of fire. These are the representatives. We call them the pantheon of gods and goddesses. And I know also that probably throws many of you off because you are not used to gods in the plural sense and goddesses in the plural sense. You, for the most part, if you grew up in America, you've always thought of God as this one particular picture that I remember so well that, you know, most of our people have, you know, thought of as God. And of course it was a white person. But that's a whole different subject, and we're going to try not to go there. We're going to just sort of like deal with what the Nubians believe. You know, we already know pretty much what most of you believe, okay? Now, let us see. We also have the golden mean, as we dealt with last week, and its other things that it represents. As we said, air represents faith. And the more you look at the golden mean, you will see that it was really deep understanding about things. Because when you deal with, as I said, this is the air part of the mean. And when you deal with faith, you're dealing with things that are not seen. See? So it takes faith to believe in a thing that is not seen before it is materialized. And that is a part of life, you see. We do have to believe in some things that we cannot see, but we believe it. That's not the end of it, though, see, because it has to be, faith is nothing if it just stays at faith. So it has to become material, see. It has to actually materialize in order for it to mean anything. But just to have faith in something, you know, forever and ever and ever, it's just like a person who believes that their relationship at some point is going to get better, see. They just believe it, see. Now, 10 years later, the relationship hasn't got any better, but they still believe it, see. So, see, belief and faith has a certain point, a breaking point. You believe it, but if it doesn't materialize at a certain point, maybe it's not going to happen, see. So it's a lot of depth to this, this symbol, and it's something not just in one thing, but it's in all things. It's a universal idea. Uni means one, and verse means idea. And if you understand this symbol, this graft, you can put it in all categories and you will find that it still comes out true. It still adds up. Now the next one is water, and water is charity. And it's other things, but it is charity for the most part. Now when you think of rain, you know, you think of, that's the ultimate of charity for us, you know, not just for humans, but for all life, because all life has to have water if it's going to survive, correct? So this rain is a blessing. It's something that comes to us, and it is charity to us. It is given to us freely, you know, even though I know some of you have to pay some serious water bills, you know, because I know I do. But I'm just saying for the most part, so if we wouldn't have anything, our food wouldn't grow and nothing would grow if we didn't have that rain, which is an ultimate charity, see. So water represents charity, you see. And then you have prayer, which is where we're going to talk today. And lastly, I say fasting is the fire, and it represents discipline, see, and order, see. Because when you think of the sun, which is a ball of fire, it kind of organizes everything, see. Everything organizes itself around that ball of fire, see. So it's a lot of depth to that also, see. So we're not going to go there today, but I'm just giving you a brief idea of all of them. But earth represents cultivation, production, and that type of thing. And we call it prayer, see, prayer. But of course, like last week, we tried to explain that the types of prayers that our people, when I say our people, I mean African American people, have been introduced to since they've been here in America, is a prayer that's on the passive side. It's a passive kind of way that we pray. And it's, as I said last week and stuff, it's something questionable about the way that we've been taught to pray. It's very questionable. If you are an African American, particularly an African American male, you might question the femininity of the way you've been taught to pray. And there are some vicarious messages that are in those types of prayers, brother, if you pay attention to what it's doing. And it's not an accident and stuff that people have conquered us, and people are still conquering us, and we have become very passive in our way, the way we handle ourselves. Prayer is very significant, you know, in any community, and how they progress, see, how progressive they are. And you have to be a little aggressive to be progressive. It's very important. And a passive kind of person, you know, it's not very manly anyway. It's not manly for a man to be very passive like that. It's just not a manly thing. But anyway, today we're going to talk about the Nubian type of prayer. And the Nubian type of prayer, as I said last week, is a little different from what you and I think of as prayer. And these are the 4 types of prayer. And notice there's always 4. Everything breaks up into 4s. There is thinking, there is talking, there is reading, and there is writing. And as we said last week, when you think about it and stuff, if you want to, for example, pray to, say, a brother Malcolm X, you still can pray to a brother Malcolm X in the form of the book that he has written and left for you, you see, as the book that I'm talking about, Malcolm X Speaks, because that's really his book. That's the one. I ain't talking about his autobiography or any of the other stuff. I'm talking about Malcolm X Speaks, because that book is him. That is his words. And as he said, it's no longer other people what they were saying. It's what he thought and what he left for us. Malcolm X Speaks is a great book. I think it's still a relevant book. It's so amazing how relevant Malcolm X is even today. You know, when you read him, it's amazing that he was so in tune, particularly to the political arena. He understood the politics of the world. And I'm amazed because he was so young. He was young, and he had all of that understanding politically, you know? So we said, like I said, you could pray with a brother Malcolm. You could pray with a Malcolm or Marcus Garvey. You can pray to GM George James and stuff, to Chancellor Williams, and to all of these brothers who tried to leave you something so you had something to work with, see. And I know they left me with something to work with. So I would pray with all my brothers, and they're giving me something to work with, see, something so I can survive in a very hostile environment that is against particularly the black male, you see. So you have this brother that you can pray with, and he can give you something that you can work with, see. And that's not a passive kind of prayer. That's not a prayer where you're, you know, down on your knees, you know, or a prayer where you're bending over, you see. And when you're down on your knees, you're holding your hands in a vicarious position. Who taught you to pray that way? Of course, it was your master. Your master taught you these things, so you have to question the things that your master taught you to do, you see. You must question those things. And that is part of being aggressive, when you question things. As we said last week, for the most part, the church and the temple is set up to produce non-aggressive type people, passive people, people that don't ask questions, see, because it's not set up to ask questions. So you just accept. And I'm not just talking about it, you know, because I read it in a book. I'm talking about it because I experienced it, because I know. I experienced both Christianity and Islam, and I know it's not designed for you to question it, see. But on the other hand, we would like you to question us. The last 15 minutes of the show, we would love for you to call and question us on anything that we're saying, because everything that we're saying is the truth. So if you question us, we will be able to back it up. But if you go up into the church, and no disrespect for people that go to church and people that go to the mosque and the temple and the masjid and so forth, no disrespect to you, but we're just having a conversation, see. So we are adults, so we can have conversations. And if I'm talking about something that affects African American people, I believe I have a right. Also, I have a right because this is the show that I'm doing, and you have a choice to listen or you have a choice to tune me out. you see. So it's not like I'm knocking on your door and I'm bothering you. You are listening. So I'm telling you exactly like I think. I'm not going to be phony and artificial. I'm telling you exactly the way I see it. I see the church and the temple, both of them produce non-aggressive males. And not leaving the sisters out. Because sisters, you can ask questions too, and you should. We all should ask questions about anything. You know, it's like if you're getting ready to go buy a house or buy a car, you're not just going to just say, well, how much is it? And here's the money. No, you're going to have some questions, I hope. I hope you're not just going to just take it and buy it, you know. No, you should question things. That's what's wrong with it. If it's sound, you should be able to question it. You should be able to question anything. If it's sound, what's wrong with a question? See, but there's a reason why it is not designed for you to ask questions. So we are going to deal with the way the Nubians pray. And as I say, that's just reading. That's one part. And then there's talking, which is what I'm doing right now. And what you'll do when you call in the last 15 minutes, we will talk. See, that's a form of prayer because we're exchanging ideas, you see. We're not arguing. We're exchanging ideas, you see. If there's something that I say that's incorrect and stuff, then you can correct me. I'm correctable, you know, and I would like you to because I wouldn't want to be wrong. I want to be right, see. So that's a form of prayer between you and I. We are talking, you see. And it's real, it's productive, it's reality. It is not something supernatural, see, where you're praying. You know, I mean, some people go in a closet and they pray up to, and they think maybe somebody's listening, you see, and that kind of thing, you know. And I'm not criticizing you because you were taught to pray that way, but it's real, nothing real there, see. There's never anything real. Of course, some of you believe that, you know, God answers your prayers, that you needed a new car and you needed this and you needed that and stuff. But most likely you went out and worked and you probably got the money. So that's kind of a shaky kind of thing to think that maybe this happened. And, you know, but this is real. If you really want to know things, you have to read about them, you have to study them, you have to think about them, you see, and then also you can write about them, which is also another form of prayer. If you are a writer, you know what I'm saying. Something about writing reveals to you things that you may not have even known because it's your creative self. And when you write and stuff, you have a way of sort of bringing that idea out fully and stuff. And I know when I write, I always teach myself. I teach myself things by writing. So these are forms of prayer: to think, to talk, to read, and to write. And we need to do that. In fact, today we're going to try to analyze how we can pray over something. We were talking about Noah's Ark last week, right? And we're going to deal with that a little bit more today. We're going to try to see how we can pray over this Noah's Ark idea, see? Because this is an idea, and when you say prayer also is, remember, prayer is also food, see? Because it's part of the earth, see? So when all of those things are so relevant, see? You have to think in terms of food when you think about reading, because you're reading and you're eating in a sense. Your mind is eating, see? But not everything that you eat is good for you, am I right? Okay, so we're going to see if the story of Noah's Ark is a good food for us. That's basically what we're going to do, see? We're going to look at it real carefully, examine it, and see if that story. We already, I think we made our point last week, and we also challenged the ministers and the pastors and the imams and all of them, even the Pope and whoever, you know, whoever's out there, I don't care. We questioned them on the curse of Ham. And our question was, whatever happened to that curse? Did it change? Did God change his mind? Or what happened? See? But you don't hear, it's very quiet about that. We don't hear that in the open. So you can't change. If God is as they said, he's the same eternally, then how did it change? When did it change? As I said last week to the audience, I told you that I had a couple of Mormon young guys come to my house, and I asked them, I said, well, you know, why is it that now black people can join your church and they couldn't join your church years ago? And they were young, they didn't really know, the answer, they didn't know what to do, really. So they excused themselves. And that was very intelligent, too, because I was really ready to jump on them with some questions and stuff. And most people can't handle my questions anyway. Now, the point is that the Ham curse hasn't gone anywhere. And if you are a authority on your church or your temple, then you can call us in the last 15 minutes. In fact, identify yourself boldly and let us all know that you know what you're talking about, because I don't think you're going to call. Mainly because you can't answer the question. What happened to the curse? See? That's a deep question. But we're going to leave that alone, and maybe somebody will still, try to be bold and come out there. And, I don't suggest it, but if you want to, it would be good. Now, we're going to deal with another aspect of this Noah story, because I think it's a good story it's a foundational story. And as I said last week, I said that you call your book, the Holy Quran, holy, and you call your book, the Bible, holy also. Holy means pure, meaning everything in those books is true, okay? So you still have to answer the curse. If the curse was put on by God, it must be still on, meaning black people are still cursed. That's what you are saying, and that's holy, okay? And we would like to hear how you address that, because I would like to hear it myself. How could you address such a thing if black people are cursed? In fact, it's still in the Jewish encyclopedia. It's in there. You can go look it up. Now, we're going to deal with the impossibility of this whole idea of this ark. See, that's what we're going to try to deal with today. This impossibility of this whole ark idea. Because now these are things that you're feeding your children. You're feeding them these stories. And are you feeding them something that's going to make them healthy? Or are you going to feed them something that's going to make them sick? I mean, if you're a good parent, you want to feed your children healthy things. Am I correct? So if you're feeding them something that's not healthy, you should know that that's not a good idea. Now, I often wonder why the Santa Claus idea is still around. I mean, it's not true. I remember when my children were young, I would always, because my children had to go to the regular school systems and get the things that the curriculum that they were teaching, that sort of thing. But I always had my own class with my children, see. And when they went to school, they were prepared, see. And so all that irrational, illogical stuff and stuff, they were able to throw that out and stuff. And many a days I had teachers and stuff call the house and want me to come in and discuss why my children were disruptive, they said. But really, they just asked questions, you see. And mainly the teachers would say, well, it's just the curriculum. I don't know if it's true or not. They said, but that's what they teach us. That's what they tell us we have to teach. That's what we teach. So that's really not a great answer if you are a teacher, see. You would want to know if what you're teaching is true, in my opinion, anyway. That's my opinion. But anyway, like I said, the Santa Claus idea is false. And, I would ask them to analyze it themselves. This is how you analyze. You extrapolate. Extrapolate, meaning you begin to eliminate things that are impossible. For example, they would say, well, okay, this man, this big, huge, fat man, is going to go down the chimneys in everybody's house and deliver some presents on Christmas Eve. I'm pretty sure that's the way the story goes, correct? Now, I remember my young son was saying, I don't think he could fit down the chimney. See, so I didn't actually give them the answers. I let them kind of process it. I say extrapolate that, and so they eliminated that. He couldn't get down there. I mean, even a thin man can't get down a chimney, you see. It doesn't, it's there, for the most part and stuff there, the small flus you can't get down, but especially the Santa Claus can't get down. So they eliminated that. They also eliminated the fact that reindeers don't fly, you see. So that was eliminated. And so as they continued to eliminate things, there was nothing left, see. Nothing was left in the store. And that is actually the way that I allowed them to go with everything. You analyze it, you extrapolate. And once you eliminate everything, you find out that there's nothing there. It's like eating food, and once you break it all the way down, there's no nutrition in it. Nothing. You're just wasting your time. You're eating something that has no nutrition. So that's the way that is. Now, this Noah's Ark story, let's begin with the size of the ship. Now, those of you who are people who do know a little about Hebrew, you know that a cubit is what they use as their measurements versus what we call inches. But a cubit is 18 inches. Okay, and in some cases, they might say 20 inches. So we'll give it 20 inches just for the benefit of the story. Now, the boat, according to all the measurements in the Bible, is approximately 500 feet. That's what the boat is, okay? And you can do the math yourself and stuff, and you'll come up with the same thing. I'm a carpenter, by the way, so it's pretty easy for me to figure it. So it's 500 feet. Now, let's picture a 500-foot boat, which is not a small boat now. That's not a small boat. But even when you think in terms of these 4 men, Noah and his 3 sons, building a boat that big, I mean, you got to put that in your mind. That's a lot of work. And I'm a carpenter. I'm going to tell you, that is not no easy job. And I got compound Midas saws, and I got all kinds of compressors, and I got some equipment, see, to build today. And according to what we know, they didn't have any of that, see. We don't know anything about any equipment like that they had to build these boats. So it would be impossible for 4 men to be able to build a boat that big, especially when you consider that they also had to go and collect all these animals. Remember that. But keep that in mind. We're going to get back to that. But if you would buy that idea, then hey, we'll let that one slide by. If you can buy the idea that 4 men can build a 500-foot boat and stuff, then we'll let that one go. But I know better because, like I said, I'm a carpenter. Now, I mean, it would take a very, very long time if they were ever able to do such a thing. Now, the dinosaurs is the one that's interesting to me. If you're aware of weight capacity itself, I mean, some people know more about weight capacity. You know, you're going down the highway and you see one of the state troopers, they'll stop these trucks and they weigh, you know, sometimes they have to be weighed because they can be overweight. Because everything has a capacity, see, no matter what it is. Even the Titanic has a capacity, believe it or not, and stuff. All things that transport, you know, they have to have a certain weight that they can carry, see, a certain weight. Now, the dinosaurs, I'm not sure if you're aware of it, some of the dinosaurs were over 50 tons. I mean, over 50 tons. And I mean, there's one, I can't really pronounce the name of it. I mean, it was really a big dinosaur. And he was 55 tons and 300 feet. You know, I mean, huge, okay? Huge. Now, that's just one. But according to the Bible, there are 2 of every kind, some say, and some say 7 of every kind. So now, 7 of those would definitely not fit on that boat. Definitely not. I'm just talking about one species here. That's not even a species. That's only one individual dinosaur. There's a whole lot of dinosaurs now, a whole lot of them and stuff. That's only one. And so he would have at least, it would be the mate or the male and female dinosaurs. I guess that's the way they put them in there, male and female, as they say. They put them in there, male and female. So you have 2 dinosaurs like 55 tons. I'll say that again, 55 tons in 300 feet. And your boat is only 500 feet. So we haven't even got to anything else, and we're just dealing with that one dinosaur. We're not talking about all the other dinosaurs. We're just talking about the one group, the pair, and that's it. And that boat is quite full already, you know. But, I mean, some of you, because it's in the Bible, you just believe it, see. And the Muslims, by the way, some of you are saying, well, what's that got to do with us? But remember, now, you say that you believe in all of the prophets, see. That's what you say. So you believe in Noah. So therefore, you believe this story too. That's why you're included. You understand? Okay, now, the capacity is a significant part of this story, and that's what you should think about. You should think about capacity and the impossibility of it all. And now when you think about, say, for example, particular types of animals, say like the polar bear. The polar bear, it's interesting because there's no polar bears in that part of the world. You know, the polar bears are only in the Arctic, as far as I know. Now, if I'm wrong, call me, you know, and correct me on that. But polar bears, even the way their body is and so forth, and with their color and so forth, is something related to that Arctic where they live, you know, and that's where they're from. And some animals are specifically from certain parts of the landscape, you see. And so I don't really know if Noah and his 3 sons had time after building that huge boat to go all the way to the Arctic. And if they went all the way to the Arctic, how did they get there? I mean, did they take the boat to the Arctic to go pick up the 2 polar bears? Because, you know, they say it's 2 of every kind or 7 of every kind. So they would have had to go on to the Arctic. And that's not an easy trip anyway, you see, when you consider the ice and so forth. So that one's puzzling. How did the polar bears get on that boat? Then you have the kangaroos, who are primarily in Australia. As far as I know, that's the only place that you will find kangaroos, is in Australia. So did they go to Australia to get a couple of kangaroos? I mean, you have to ask yourself these questions, extrapolate the idea to see if it's possible for all of this to happen. First of all, we don't have any more room in the boat anyway. You know how you go into to the airport and stuff, and they say, we're booked, we're full, you know. Because when you talk about those 55-ton dinosaurs, hey, we're booked. There's nobody else can get on there anyway. But then we're going to still go through the process just in case you're still a believer that somehow this happened. Now, penguins, of course, they're in the Antarctic, so they would have had to go on to the Antarctic also if they're going to get penguins, because they're not in the Middle East. Of course, I think the story is in the Middle East according to what they say, so there's no penguins in the Middle East, so they would have to have gone to the Antarctic to get the penguins. One of the things that's very interesting is the animals like the rattlesnakes and you know, the type that basically, you know, I mean, I try to think about that now. Now, what did they all get along? Like Rodney King said, let's all get along. I mean, was Rodney King telling them all to get along or something? Because I can't imagine all of those different types of animals in a boat, see, a 500-foot boat, and all getting along. See, I don't know if you can fathom such a thing. I mean, that's, what did the rattlesnake no longer was his nature? See, you know, because I mean, you come in their territory and stuff, man, they're going to attack you. That's what they do. See, so there's not enough space, so they're all in each other's territory basically. But it's such a, the story is really something. But it's amazing that I used to believe the story completely. The reason why is because, you know, unlike myself with my children, my parents didn't actually know what I know and were able to teach me the way you're supposed to question things, see. And it's not their fault either, because their parents didn't have it either. See, I was fortunate to be born when I was, so that I was able to get the information, like the people that I have put on this board, and I told you, Brother Malcolm X specifically, you know, giving me something to work with, see. And so then I was able to question some things, and that gave me an advantage, you see. So I was able to teach my children to question stuff, see. And, you know, I didn't do it when I was young. I just, hey, I mean, if that Bible says that Noah's Ark happened, then it must have happened. That's the way I was. And, you know, and a lot of you out there in the audience is the same way. You've never actually examined it. It's not saying that you're not intelligent. It's saying that you haven't been cultivated to be a questioner type person. You've been cultivated to be a passive person. See, passivity is not just about being nonviolent. Passivity is also being a person that doesn't question things. See, so you're being passive is not necessarily just saying you're nonviolent. It's just saying that you don't question things. You're also passive when you don't question things. Remember, we're talking mental things here. This is the oasis in the sky. So we try to deal with the mind and things to deal with the mind. So passivity is mental also. See, it's not just a physical thing, although they usually go hand in hand. Now, the one thing that I think was put in there to give us a little push to think, and that was the window, the one window in that huge boat, and the one window is only 20 inches by 20 inches. I mean, what 20 inches is like that, and maybe like, you know, that small window in a boat that big with all those animals in there, you know. I think that was put in there so it gave a hint to think, you know, to like come on out of that sleep that you're in and think, because that's not possible. See, it's not. I mean, you know, that's nothing. You might as well not have a window at all. If you have a little 20-inch window for all those animals to breathe and live, And you know that if they're eating, and that's another subject, if they're, what is the food supply? This was, I think, 120 days, they said, right? Where was all this food going to be stored? And I mean, what are they going to cooperate, get in line and all get their little plate or something? I mean, you know, you have to think, how in the world was that taken care of, see, with all these animals? And a lot of them are huge, and a lot of them are vicious, you know. And we're not even going to talk about insects, I mean, because it's ridiculous. Insects, I don't know if you know it, but insects make up 56% of our world, the life on our planet, 56%. That's insects, man. There's so many. I think the last time I read about insects and stuff, they said it was like 4 million insects that's still not named yet. Contrary to the fact that they said Adam, you know, named everything. I mean, you know, it's 4 million that don't have names yet. You know, the Adam naming everything, that's really, really a hint to think, see, because no man could name all of the life. I mean, we're talking insects themselves. I mean, they have to make new numbers to count the insects that we have on this planet. You know, I mean, it's phenomenal, you know. But, of course, you still believe it. I mean, some of you will probably believe it till the day you die because it's in the Bible or it's in the Quran. And it has nothing to do with reason. It has nothing to do with logic. It just has something to do with belief. That's all, you know, that's all. Now, and that's the way some people are, and, you know, hey, it's nothing you can do. The only thing I can do is what I'm doing. As Malcolm, when he was here, he just taught, and some people may have picked up some things, and some people may not have, and that's basically, you know, the way it works and stuff, you know. You can't make a person believe or think anything. That's a fact. Now, further in the story, I asked the question, is the destruction of all life, is that fair? Is that fair? That's the question. I don't know why, but we have a little sound in the background and stuff that's kind of disturbing the show, and I hope that we can maybe, you know, get that taken care of and stuff so that we can have a professional show here and not all that noise in the background, and the door is, you know. But anyway, let's get back to our subject. We have, is the destruction fair? That's a question. Is it fair that this God, according to your book, would destroy all life except for Noah and his sons and the selected animals? This is another part of the argument or the extrapolation. I asked the question, is it fair? Now, when you think in terms of fish, and you're destroying all of this life with water, I mean, the fish, they basically, they just have a red letter day. I mean, they said, this is the kind of punishment I like, you know? So it's really not fair. They're getting a free pass, you know, in reality and stuff, if, in fact, this is a true story. See, we're not saying it's true. We're saying that the story, we have to look at all the different things. See, when we extrapolate, we have to look at everything, see. We call it the circumnavigation, see. When you look at all sides of the thing in order to determine what actually is what. Now, it's not fair as far as the fish. They did get away. And I'm quite sure a lot of the birds, you didn't talk them into going in there. And I can like to see those 4 people, and of course they said they had wives, trying to collect those billions and billions of insects, you know, to get them in the boat. I mean, it's a very unbelievable thing, you know, to think such a thing. Now, babies, just like today, you know, I'm sure was part of the population, wherever they're talking about, you know, what kind of sin did a baby commit? I mean, you have to ask that question. I mean, because they obviously would have died, right? And this God is destroying everything, and those babies were there. And then babies, they don't. I mean, what kind of sin does a baby commit? You know, I mean, all babies, it's one thing that's nice about babies, they're all pretty much the same. They do the same kinds of things, and they act the same way. I mean, it's only when we grow up and stuff and we learn certain things or are taught certain things that we become, you know, a certain way. But for the most part, most babies, if you study them, they're the same. They do the same kinds of things. They like to eat, they like to sleep, you know, and they, you know, so why kill a baby? You know, you have to ask, why kill a baby, you know? The same with animals. I mean, what did they do? What kind of sin did they commit? an animal. I mean, they have a certain nature. They do what they're created to do, and so why should they die? What kind of sin did an animal commit? It's very difficult to find a fairness in that destruction. I mean, if you can find fairness in that destruction, I'd like you to call me and tell me why it is fair to kill a baby. You know, what can a baby do that's so evil? You know, I mean, I don't know myself. But see, in my view, this is like a holy influence, but it's an unholy idea. See, you're saying this came out of the Bible, so it's holy and it's pure and it's true, right? But it's an unholy idea to think in terms of killing a baby, you know, because you say that the baby is sinful. And I really would like to hear somebody call me on that and tell me, what did a baby do in any time period? I mean, you know, the babies are babies, and they've been the same way ever since creation. They do the same kinds of things, and you know, I've never seen a sinful baby, a baby that's a sinner, a baby that's sinning, or what you call sinning. You know, I don't even know what you're talking about for the most part, and he should die. That's what you're saying. So the destruction here is a problem with that, as far as I'm concerned, and it reminds me of what happened on a radio show that I was listening to, and this radio show was up in Philadelphia. And it's interesting because the comments on the radio show came from a Christian organization, and the follow-up show was a Muslim organization, which is interesting. And they both agreed on the same thing. And what they were saying was that the people who died in the flood in Katrina were killed by their God, and those people, I don't know why we have so much noise and stuff, and the door is open, and I don't know exactly why we can't get this thing so that it's quiet like it should be. But anyway, here we are. It distracts me, you know, when that kind of stuff happens and stuff. But anyway, we have these people on the radio program, and they are saying that the Katrina event, and we all are familiar with the Katrina event, happened because their God destroyed those people because those people were sinners. That's what they said on the radio, okay? And it's interesting because the Muslim program came on after this show, and they said the same thing. They said that their God was called Allah, and that Allah destroyed those people because they were evil. That's what they said. And I'm sitting there in the truck, you know, I was getting ready to go to a job, and I was listening to the program, and I'm shaking my head, you know, because it's the same thing as the destruction of these people in Noah's time, according to what they say in the book. I mean, and I'm also thinking about the babies that died in the Katrina, and the animals that died in the Katrina. And I'm thinking about, I'm also thinking about the people, which I definitely didn't agree with them that they were evil. I mean, what do you mean they were evil? What exactly are you talking about when you say these people were evil, so God has to destroy those people? And I mean, it's amazing to hear people in these authoritative positions saying the things that they say. It reminds me of Pat Robertson, who is pretty famous as a Christian evangelist. He said that the government should kill the president of Venezuela. They should assassinate him. That's what he said, you know. And he's been known to say some very wild things and stuff. Of course, this is a Christian man, and he supposedly is pious and like Christ-like, and you know, and you know, and all that and stuff. But you know, he says some things and stuff, man. I mean, that is very interesting for a person that's supposedly so religious, that they should assassinate this man, kill this man in Venezuela, the president, because he disagrees with American policy. I mean, you know, so I mean, what message does that send? Here you are, a religious figure, and you're supposed to be, you know, an example, a pillar of the community, and you're sending messages to the young kids that's out here slinging these guns and killing each other because they stepped on each other's shoes and that kind of thing. And here you are saying that we should kill this man because he disagrees. And you are supposed to be the pillar of the community. And see, that's the leadership, see. That is why we are in the condition that we're in today, because the leadership doesn't have a clue. See, he doesn't have a clue that he is sending messages that, you know, we should, if someone disagrees with you, kill them. That's the way. See, and this is what they're teaching. So I'm saying even in their book, you know, that's what it's saying. It's saying that God should destroy all this life. So you have to think about that. What is holy and pious and divine about killing all life, particularly babies and animals and old people? You know what I mean? Old people died in Katrina, man. They could hardly walk, wheelchair victims and all this. And you think that that's because God, you know, thought they were all evil, you know. I would like to see what kind of evidence you bring to court and convict all these people that died in Katrina for being evil. You don't have anything for that. That's a totally ridiculous idea that those people were evil. That's why they died. And of course, you don't have any idea of weather and how, and some people still think that God controls the weather. So those are probably the type of people that said such things, you see. And they don't realize and stuff that we live in an environment outside of the earth and stuff, that we are relating to that environment, and that environment has an effect on the weather that we have. And they really should do some research on weather and how weather actually happens. And it's not, God is not spanking somebody and it's why it's raining. You know, that's something I heard when I was a child, you know. But anyway, that's, that indiscriminate murder is what it is. It's indiscriminate. You know, you're just killing people, you know. And it's like what happened at 9/11, which was a tragic thing. But we are saying that it's just people from, you know, the Middle East or Arabs. We blame it on, you know, those people, that they are what they call terrorists, see. But as I said, Pat Robertson, what was that he said about killing the Venezuelan president? Is that not a terrorist thing? What's the difference? I mean, what is the difference? What is the difference between the people on the radio that said that those people down in New Orleans should die because they were sinners? That's a terrorist thought. I mean, they have terror in their mind and stuff. That's a ridiculous idea and stuff. So it's not just Middle East, but I'm not saying any of them are correct, because they're all fanatics as far as I'm concerned, but they're influenced by their books, see. Their books have influenced them. Holy books influencing unholy things. See, and that's something people don't realize and stuff, where these ideas are coming from. This destruction, this violence and stuff, where is it coming from? Because the Bible is quite a violent book, actually, but it's dealing with a different subject. It's not even dealing with a human subject. And so these people have no understanding, and they're taking it to this violence and stuff. And that's why our world is violent. The world didn't get violent just because. See, there's always cause and effect. And there is a cause, because the cause is the ideas that causes such violence. And it is a shame that people believe such things, that they actually believe that there's such a divine God somewhere that would destroy little babies and old people and animals who just do what their nature tells them to do. Bark, you know, and meow, and, you know, different things. The animals just do what their nature. They didn't do anything other than their nature. I mean, after all, God created them like that, right? So that's what they do. So how do you determine that the dog is evil, or the cat is evil, and so forth? After you examine it, and as I say, extrapolate that, you will see that something's wrong with the story. See, there's really something wrong. But anyway, as we were saying last week, it's a matter of understanding the way the universe is designed, see, and the book is deep. Both books are deep. They're dealing with a subject, though, that's way over the heads of the people that's teaching it, though. You know, the Pat Robertsons and those people, they don't have a clue about what they're talking about and stuff. But you think that the smartest people on earth, that's just the way you think. And particularly black people, because black people believe that, some of them really believe that because they're white, they know what they're talking about, but they really don't have a clue. You know, and the young black brothers that are preaching this stuff, I mean, they've been taught this, and that's what they believe and stuff, and you know, but they can't back it up. And I guarantee you, if you're listening to my voice, they won't call me. They're not going to call me because they don't want to be embarrassed and stuff, you know, because what they have is so nothing. It's a zero. It's a plain zero. That's all it is. But yet, it is effective, because it doesn't matter if it's true or not and stuff. Ideas are still effective. Ideas can still get in our heads, whether they're true or whether they're not true, and they can be effective and stuff. And you have to realize and stuff that these are the ideas that are leading our world and stuff. Noah's Ark is a very relevant story. Okay, we do have a call And I didn't realize and stuff that our time had ran that quickly and stuff, but I guess it has and stuff. So we're going to have to get into the phone call, as I said, breaking bread together with the community. Greetings, caller.
Hey, how you doing? I was just catching your story, and I just wanted to, see if you recommend me some kind of book or something to read. I like the Noah Ark incident, and
Okay.
I really was impressed by that. Where I worked at, I have a coworker. She's a Jehovah's Witness, and another one, she is a Christian, and sometimes, we, go back and forth about different things in reference to the religion and stuff like that. But you handed out some key points, definitely, in reference to the Noah Ark thing. So I will be throwing that in her face tomorrow.
Okay, and I'll recommend the book. I'll hang you up, but I'll recommend the book for you too, okay?
Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you for your call. We appreciate all of our calls. As I said, this is Breaking Bread together with the community time. And I apologize, I didn't realize the time had went by that fast, but that was a good call. And I think the book that I would recommend, which I think is a great book because it deals with mythology, and the book is called The Deceptions and Myths of the Bible. And the author is Lloyd Graham. And that book can be bought at Barnes & Nobles. A lot of times they have them on the shelf. And if they don't have them on the shelf, they can order it and have it for you in 7 days. It's called Deceptions and Myths of the Bible, and it's an excellent book. Lloyd Graham is an excellent scholar, and he definitely will break it down. And so, I mean, if you are a scholarly type person, you will enjoy that book a great deal. And thanks again for your call. And as I said, this is Breaking Bread together with the community time, so you are welcome to call us. And we're not criticizing people who believe in certain things. As I said, I believed in all of this myself, every bit of it and stuff. That's just the way I was brought up, and that's what I was taught. And so, as I said and stuff, I'm thankful that I had people like Malcolm, people like that who were able to, and George James, who wrote the book Stolen Legacy, and those types of people who were able to give me some information to work with. And then you have to seek it out for yourself, because the knowledge is here, is definitely here. And, I might criticize some things about America, but America has some great points. She got bad points, but she got some great points too. And we can, in this country, we can get information. See, you can get information, and it is some positive things about America. So don't ever think that I'm just totally against. I'm not totally against anything and stuff. I just would like to see the truth. That's all. That's just the way I am. And hopefully you're the same way. You want to see what is truthful. Now, let's move on with this subject, since we do have some more time and we don't have a caller right now. And I was saying that we went last week into the idea of the Nubian idea, which is the ultimate idea. The ultimate idea is the death of the sun. And when I say the death of the sun, many of you who are Christians can relate to what I'm saying, but you're relating to it in a literal sense, meaning you think that it's the death of a man. Okay. Now, the Nubians believed that it was the death of the sun. See, and that's significant. We only have a few more minutes, but that's a good place to stop. And then next week at 7:30 on Thursday, you come back. We'll be at it again, and we'll be trying to break this thing on down a little bit further and stuff, But as I said, the death of the sun is a cosmic story. It's not a human story. It's a cosmic story, see. And when you look at the cosmic story, Noah's Ark won't sound so strange, see. Noah's Ark would make sense to you, see. It's something that won't make sense. It will never make sense if you think of it as a human story. But when you begin to think in the cosmos as the ancients thought, they thought about the big story. See, we're thinking about the small story, but they were thinking about the big story, the creation of all life, see. All life, see, not just human beings and stuff, but it's through the sun and the earth, as I said last week, and this is where we're going to end. The Nubians believe that the sun, the one that you see in the sky, is not the one they're talking about. When they talk about the sun dying, they're talking about the earth that we're living on, see. And that's the story. Now, that's the big story. Now, this sun that we are living on now, which is called an earth, it was once a sun. It died as a sun, and it became what we call a planet, see. And that is the huge story. Once you get that story, see, all the other stories are relevant. It's the idea of uni means one, and verse means idea. When you get that one story, then you'll understand the whole story, see. Because it is a beautiful idea once you realize that they're talking about cosmic things, and they're not talking about just our little earthly little things. And you got to remember and stuff that the so-called scientists, and there are some smart ones, don't get me wrong, and they have discovered some great things. But not too long ago, they thought the earth was the center of the universe, and, you know, it's not. We know now that it's a vast universe out there, and our little planet and stuff, you know, is like a grain of sand, you know, when you look at the cosmos as a whole. And our ancestors thought about the big picture, see. That's what the pyramids was built for, to observe what's going on up there, see, you know. And as I said, when that sun dies, it becomes a planet. And it's not an accident that in the core of our earth is this lava that is the same thing that you'll see if you look in a telescope at that sun. You'll see that lava, see. It's the same. See? It's the same, but we just never thought about it, see. We never thought about it. But those are big stories. And I only have 1 minute, so I would like to thank the audience, thank the caller for calling in, and we hope that you were able to get on your journey, you know, and begin to seek out those great ideas and stuff about this universe of ours. And at this time, we're going to close out, and we'll be back next week at 7:30 so we can circumnavigate the truth once again.